Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Oh, now it's on. Good morning. So it's nice to be here performing some solo pieces. And for today, I chose actually, we could call them two almost unknown pieces until now by two famous composers. So first, we have this small waltz by Chopin, which probably you all heard the story a couple of months ago, that was discovered in a library in New York. Now, up there, I left Chopin with a question mark, because of course, so far, they say, yes, it's his writing and it's his style, like his handwriting, his style in music. But we also know that AI does a lot of very interesting things as well, right? So, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. I'll just leave it to your ears. It's certainly very, very beautiful little piece of music. My personal opinion, it's if it is original by Chopin, it's certainly not a completed piece of music. But however, it's very beautiful to hear. The second piece now, for that there is no question, but it's also very interesting. It's a piece by Claude Debussy, which was discovered in 2001. For a long time, it was thought that his last pieces for piano were his etudes and his reverie, but then came this piece, I'll try to say the name in French, Les soirs, It's quite interesting because it goes with the story. Les soirs illuminés par l'ardeur du charbon, which can translate like the evenings lit by the burning coals. And this piece was discovered in 2001, as I was saying, and it was given to Debussy by a coal merchant. Debussy died in 1917, so during the First World War. And of course, coal was in very high demand at the time. And this merchant gifted him some coal, and he in return, he did what he could do best, gifted him a piece of music. And so actually this is the last piece of music that Debussy wrote, at least for the piano. So I think that's quite interesting. I didn't know the piece before I started this investigation on newly published or newly discovered pieces by famous composers. And the last piece that I will play, that is I think an all-time favorite. It's the great Polonaise Heroic by Chopin. And probably that many of you know it. So two very unknown things and one very known thing to keep things in balance. I hope you enjoy them.
Thank you, Amos. Welcome to First Unitarian Society on this chilly Sunday morning in Minneapolis. It seems to have kept some people away today, so welcome you hardy souls who are here in person. Welcome to each of you, whoever you are, wherever you are, present in body in this space, present in this moment with us online. And to those of you watching tomorrow, next week, or even next year, you are welcome. It is great to be together and to gather as a community of seekers, here where we honor the interdependence of life, respect the dignity of all, and honor the land we walk humbly upon. As we gather, let us acknowledge that we walk upon the traditional land of the Dakota Oyate, and in particular the Wapatuka tribe, who still call this place home and who continue to work for justice and self-determination. Particularly on this Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, Thanksgrieving weekend, may we be willing to see the truths of our colonialist history and the harm that has been done. First Unitarian Society is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. My name is Reverend Jullan Stoneberg, and I'm your interim minister here for a time to support you in moving toward a new chapter in the life of this congregation. It's my great pleasure to lead today's assembly along with our musician, Amos Lucidi, with the leadership support of Paul and Suzanne and Heather and Alan and our incredible media team. It's a pleasure indeed. Our Ethical Explorers program, we call it E2 for our children and youth, begins most Sundays at 10:30 on the second level, except today. Because of the holiday weekend, there's no formal programming. But of course, all ages are always welcome here in the Assembly Hall, which is evidenced by the space we have in the hall for families over here on my left, your right. It's a work in progress, so we'd love to get feedback from those using it about what works and what would make the space better and more welcoming. And I hope you can make good use of it today. I invite you, wherever you are, including those online, to take a moment to greet all that surrounds you, or to get up and get a gray songbook if you'd like one. And given the new theme of presence and the Thanksgiving weekend, maybe share where gratitude is present in your life. Welcome. It's lovely, isn't it, to be able to make some real connections with one another. Again, welcome to this place where we commit ourselves to live out our common values, to bring justice and equity and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace and safety and justice for all beings. Today's opening words to remind ourselves what is real were written by Ella Boyer. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insolvable, sometimes the only thing we can do is to be still for a moment to remind ourselves what is real. The sun rose this morning, the dirt under our feet, the air whispering in and out of our lungs. This hour, just try to be present to each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes these moments matter. So come, let us be attentive to this time together. We light a flame here and ask those of you at home to do the same if you can. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We're led by its light and inspired by its flame and drawn together by its warmth. We often light our chalice here using words expressing our values and aspirations. Today we'll use words about what inspires us as Unitarian Universalists. Direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder have long been considered primary resources of inspiration for us. So as Paul lights the flame, please join me in reading today's chalice lighting words, which come from the UUA's Article 2 and which express gratitude for all that inspires us. Grateful for the experiences that move us, aware of the religious ancestries we inherit, and enlivened by the diversity which enriches our faith. We are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom. And now that our chalice is lit, please share in reading our congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you, Paul. So let's sing. If you have a songbook, it's number 326. As always, barring technical difficulties, the words will be projected on the screen. It may not be familiar to you, so Amos will play it through once, and then please rise in body and or spirit to sing 326, Let All the Beauty We Have Known. Let all the beauty we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Suzanne, and I'm the membership coordinator here. First Unitarian is a Congregational Humanist community. We are here for each other, our neighbors, and our planet. And one manifestation of that is our caring team. When we gather on Sundays, we take a few moments to reflect on the human experience, the joys, sorrows, and milestones. We do this so that we stay in touch with our own humanity and to remind ourselves of the value of a moment of stillness. If at any time there's something you'd like to share with our team or with this community, please send a note to joysandconcerns@firstunitarian.org. You can also do this using the contact form on our website. This morning, I have Ralph Henn, who has developed new vision problems after being legally blind in his left eye for some years. Now, Ralph's good eye is acting up to the point of recently needing urgent surgery. While the eye surgeon says his healing is on track, Ralph has not yet seen improvement in his vision. After the assembly, stop by the card basket downstairs to send a note to folks who are unable to attend assembly and/or people we've just mentioned in joys and concerns. Now we take a few moments to reflect on all who are suffering, that we may all find ways to comfort the suffering and work for justice.
As you've already heard, this month's theme is the practice of presence. I don't mean the kind of presence we're thinking about as the Christmas holiday comes, but presence, P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E. An experience that can be accessed by opening our hearts and following and allowing ourselves to be part of the moment. And that's the message in this chant and round by Henry Fleury. We're going to experience it today via a video, and you can join in singing as you'd like, wherever in the rounding that's comfortable for you. The words are simply, "Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give." So today's wisdom moment is a story. It's a story that was written by Robin Sharma from his book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. The story's called Peter and the Golden Thread. Now Peter was a young boy who couldn't ever live in the moment. I think you've probably known people like this. When he was in school, he dreamed of being outside playing. When he was outside playing, he dreamed of his summer vacation. He was constantly daydreaming, and it didn't take time to savor the special moments in his days. And one morning, Peter was out walking in a forest near his home, and feeling tired, he decided to take a rest. He laid down on a patch of grass, and he eventually dozed off. And after a few minutes of deep sleep, he heard someone calling his name. "Peter, Peter, Peter." Opening his eyes, he was startled to see an elderly woman standing above him. Her snow-white hair dangled well below her shoulders. It was like a mat, a blanket of wool. And in this woman's hand was a magical little ball with a hole in the center. and out of the hole dangled a long golden thread. "Peter," she said, "this is the thread of your life. If you pull the thread just a little bit, an hour will pass in just seconds. And if you pull harder, whole days will pass in minutes. And if you pull with all your might, months, even years will pass by." "Well, can I have it?" Peter asked excitedly. And she said, "Sure." And she gave it to him. And without hesitating, she didn't hesitate. She just gave him that ball of thread. Well, the next day, Peter was sitting in school. And as usual, he felt a little restless and bored. And he suddenly remembered he had this ball of thread in his pocket. And he pulled it out, and he pulled just a little bit on the thread. And immediately, whoops, uh-oh. Well, my prop's not going to work. Oh, that was such a good idea. I'll do it this way. He pulled just a little bit on the thread, and immediately he found himself playing in his garden. The school day was already over. Realizing the power of that thread, he gave it another firm yank, and suddenly he was a teenager. He was a teenager and he had a girlfriend. Her name was Elise. Fascinating. This was great. Peter still wasn't content. He wondered what would come next, and he pulled even harder on that thread, and years flew by in an instant. And now he found he was a middle-aged adult, and that Elise was his wife, and they were surrounded by a whole household of kids. But Peter noticed something else. He was aging. His jet black hair has started to turn gray. His mother, who he loved so dearly, had grown old and frail. He didn't really want to live in this moment. So he pulled harder on that magic thread to see what changes would appear. And now he found himself an elderly man. His hair had turned white as snow. His once young wife had passed away a few years earlier. His children had grown up and left home. For the first time in his entire life, Peter realized he had not taken the time needed to embrace the moment. He'd never gone fishing with his kids. He'd never taken a moonlight stroll with his wife. He'd never planted a garden or read those wonderful books his mother had loved to read. Instead, he'd hurried through life, never resting to see what all was actually happening along the way. Well, Peter was very sad to discover this, and he decided to go out into the forest where he used to walk to see if he could clear his head and warm his spirit. And as he entered the forest, he noticed that the little saplings of his childhood had grown into mighty oaks. The forest itself had matured into a paradise of nature. And again, he lay down on a patch of grass and fell asleep. And after only a few minutes, he again heard someone calling to him, "Peter, Peter." And he looked up with astonishment to see that it was none other than the old woman who had given him that ball of thread. "Have you enjoyed my special gift?" she asked. "Well, at first it was fun," Peter answered, "but now I hate it. My whole life has passed before my eyes without giving me a chance to enjoy it. Sure, there have been some sad times as well as great times, but I haven't had the chance to experience them. Not really. I have missed the gift of living." "So you didn't enjoy my gift?" The woman said. "Let me give you one last wish." And Peter knew right away what he wanted. He wanted to go back to being a schoolboy and to live his life over again. And soon, he was awakened from his sleep by someone calling his name again. And when he opened his eyes, he was absolutely delighted to see that it was his mother standing over his bedside. She was young and healthy and radiant. His wish had been granted, and he had returned to his former life. "Hurry up, Peter," she said. "You sleep too much. Your dreams will make you late for school." And Peter dashed out of bed and began to live in the moment. And he went on to live a full life, one rich with delights and joys and triumphs. So maybe this is an experience kind of unique to seminarians and ministers, but it seems like I have often been asked to describe moments when I have felt, well, some version of connected, held by love, a spiritual presence, undeniably belonging. Have you ever been asked a question like that? If not, I'm asking it now. See if you can find an answer. When have you, or have you ever, felt you were inextricably, undeniably being held by love or held in the presence of all that is? My answer to this question varies, which allows for the fact that it can change and it can happen anytime, anywhere, in all kinds of circumstances. For me, it almost always includes darkness, being outside, water, stars, lying on my back on the dock on a clear, moonless night, or floating in a lake near midnight with a dome of stars twinkling overhead. Flat out on the ground while a gentle breeze creates music and tall grass around me. These are the times that flood me with a feeling of what it means to be having a human experience in the midst of it all. Your answer may call up as something entirely different, because this experience can really happen anywhere. It's like Walt Whitman's poem about miracles written way back in 1892. He wrote, "Why, who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water or stand under trees in the woods or talk by day with anyone that I love or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love or sit at table at dinner with the rest or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These, with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles." I expect you could make a similar list. And what is interesting, again based in my own experience, is that in these moments, I feel both infinitely small and insignificant, and an incredibly important and valuable part of all that is. Curious, eh? Tiny and big at the same time. Insignificant and important simultaneously. In the presence of something so much larger than me, yet knowing that all that is attending to tiny little me at the same time. Present to all that surrounds me and in the presence of all that is. All that is has for some years been a phrase that for me captures what others might mean when they use words like God or mystery or spirit. It recognizes that there's something I can know and so much more that I cannot. That what I can see and feel is just a small part of it all. It's both tangible and elusive, infinite and finite, decipherable and mysterious, mortal and immortal, all at the same time. All that is, ever has been, ever will be. Could it be that inviting awareness of all that is into one's life could offer meaningful perspective, both humility and empowerment, maybe even comfort? I suggest that it could, but how? It comes as no surprise, I suppose, that to talk about being present to talk about the present or being in the presence of something else must include some awareness of the practice of mindfulness, of paying attention. Stoicism and Epicureanism and Buddhism and even Romanticism focused to varying degrees and in different ways on being mindful. So this is nothing new, and yet it can elude us. It's so easy to forget to pay attention or to be distracted to pay it, or too distracted to pay attention. Indeed, I find that it can be easy to choose distraction over attention, avoidance over clear-eyed views, fiction over reality. These things are easy, entertaining. They don't require much of me. So why should I do the work of paying attention? Well, like Peter, the boy in the story, there's so much we can miss. For him, what was missed were moments in a life, and meaningful moments are indeed what creates a meaningful life. But what I want to say today is that what can go missing without paying attention is the experience of knowing that one belongs, of being held, which one would think would be so incredibly compelling that we turn to it all the time, and yet we don't. I spent Thanksgiving afternoon with some of my family, including a niece and her two little ones, 7 months and 2.5, two tiny beings who are exceptionally, if I do say so myself, exceptionally chill and good-natured. Still, you know how it is when little ones are overstimulated and in the presence of more people than usual, more noise, more food, more temptations. They can't seem to turn themselves off. They can't get comfort. Can I hold you? No. Are you tired? No. Do you want to cuddle? No. Not right now. There's too much going on. And then comes that magical moment when there's just the right combination of factors, when they finally succumb to just being in the presence of it all. Turning off all the reactivity to stimuli, when they simply relax into a place of comfort and acceptance. It's like they meld with all that is. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You're safe. You're held. I've got you. It's a little bit like pulling on a golden thread that's always available to us, that can transport us to a place of safety and belonging and love. Could we imagine that it's possible to find and be in that space any time, at any age, to remember our place in it all, to trust that we matter and that we're loved? That even when things are swirling around us that are unfamiliar, they're too loud, they're too demanding, we can find solid ground beneath us and know that we are held in place by gravity. We're held up by the earth. We're lifted up by the moon and the sun, even in times like this, when it seems that so much is unraveling. It's not about ignoring what's happening. It's not about trying to shut out all the bad stuff. It's not about pretending that everything's going to turn out all right. It's about saying, look, all this is true. Across time, across space, there's joy and there's suffering, there's pain and there's comfort, there's evil and there's goodness, there's ease and there's friction. There's all of this. And yet, here I am. Here I am, held, embraced, part of all of it, present to and present with, and in the presence of all of it. Jack Petranker, who's the director of the Center for Creative Inquiry in Berkeley, writes about a kind of mindfulness he calls active presence. Now, this is not the kind of mindfulness that's therapeutic, which is the kind that invites us to let go of the past and the future. It's not about the kind of mindfulness that's joyful, which calls us to fully appreciate all the possible rich experiences and wonders around us. It's not even about that kind of mindfulness that might connect us to a broader sense of what it means to just inhabit the present moment. All these kinds of mindfulness can be helpful for sure. But active presence, he writes, is being open and attentive to the multiple dimensions of our experience. Open and attentive, seeing the whole world as we understand it to be, so we can act accordingly, which allows us to choose who and what we will be in response. What values will guide us, what commitments we'll make, what impact we wish to have. Petranker quotes Seneca, the Stoic Roman philosopher who lived at about the same time of Jesus, as saying, "Toti se inserens mundo," or plunging oneself into the totality of the world. Now there's a surefire way to be present to all that is, right? Plunging oneself in. It takes courage sometimes, for sure. Being willing to go all in and hold nothing back, to plunge in, to surrender into all of it. There's such an interesting conundrum here, as seems true too often, that by not avoiding, by willingly experiencing what might feel dangerous or at least unwanted, that we then have the opportunity to be immersed in a wholeness that eludes us until we actually jump in. We're not in it unless we're in it, fully, mind, body, spirit. The late, great Catholic feminist theologian Rosemary Radford Ruther was one of my seminary professors. She used to say that every paper needed to answer the question, so what? Talk about all this stuff all you want, but so what? So, all of this, so what? So this is not some erudite bit of imagination. I don't think this is a woo-woo expression of a fantasy existence. I really believe that to be fully human is to be fully immersed in all that is, in everything that surrounds us, and to be fully immersed in our existence, held in all that is to be able to be actively present in our lives, choosing who and what and how we will live in relationship to everything and everyone around us. I'll let Mary Oliver have the last word. Here's her poem, Mindful. Every day, I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in a haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Oh, good scholars, let it be so. All right, here's another new song for you. Right Here was written by Sam Turton. Amos is going to play it through once before we sing, but the tune, no, he's not going to play the whole thing. He's just going to do an intro. You'll get right into it. The tune's an easy one. I think you'll catch on quickly, so please rise in body and or spirit. Reach out a hand. all we need, all we need is right here. All we need, all we need, all we need is right here. You may be seated.
Good morning again, everyone. My name is Alan Callender, and I have the privilege of serving this year as the president of the FUS Foundation. We are leading a Flash Capital campaign, this will be easier to read if I put my glasses on, to fix a looming problem with our building. Our building's the same age as me, and I've had some major work done too. The condition of our bricks and mortar is deteriorating in certain areas, and the repair is called tuck pointing. Tim Rail has gotten cost estimates of up to $80,000 to repair. It's a lot of money at a time when we're still seeking a new school tenant. Fortunately, we have received an anonymous challenge grant from a non-member of $40,000 toward this campaign. It's a challenge because the foundation is launching this challenge campaign to raise the additional $40,000 we think we're going to need. We're committing these donations to the campaign in lieu of our usual year-end drive from the foundation. We will begin the fundraising today with a goal of raising the cash by the end of January, or at least pledges due and payable by the 1st of April next year, when the actual work will be done. We'll have an informal presentation at in the Chalice Room at noon today, and the donations can be made at any time to the FUS Foundation. If you want to write a check, it's bricks in the memo line. Please join our generous donor and the FUS Foundation Board in contributing to this important project in protecting our home for humanism. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Heather Martens. I'm the chair of your Board of Trustees for FUS. And I get to do the less exciting ask today for operating funds. I've been around for a while at FUS, and some of you may remember I spent a few years doing some really hard work at the Capitol, going up against the gun lobby. And I will always be grateful for how, through that whole time, I was held in love here at FUS. You were there in every way: emotional support, moral support. You even showed up at the Capitol. And I will always remember that. That meant so much to me. So now I get to ask for operating funds. First Unitarian Society is a free, independent, and self-governing humanist community. As members and friends of this community, we share our time and energy, our creativity, our imagination and vision, our talents, our skills, and our gifts of treasure. All that this community can be depends on the financial support that makes our shared values and vision real. If you use the QR code on the screen, it will take you to our donor page where you can support our annual fund. If you wish, you can stop by the office with your donation, and you're invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. Thank you.
So now just a few quick announcements. Next Sunday is New Member Sunday. I'm sure you'll want to be here to celebrate those who are joining this congregation. And if you're someone who wants to become a member, please talk to Suzanne, who you saw up here earlier. She'll be down at the welcome table after the service. On Friday, December 13th at 7, all are invited here to a Blue Holiday Gathering, which is a time to acknowledge that these winter holiday times are not happy or joyful for everyone. So we're going to be gathering to hold your sadness and your loneliness and your grief with poetry and music. I invite you to come out to that. And for those of you who are in the building, you're all invited to immerse yourself in the mini meal experience today. Today's menu is chicken fricassee, pasta primavera with zucchini noodles, spinach salad, baguettes, and garlic herb butter. That sounds wonderful. So, all right, let's wrap up our time together. As Paul comes to extinguish our chalice, please join me in speaking the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. I offer you this blessing for presence by John O'Donohue. May you awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. May you have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. May you receive great encouragement when new frontiers beckon. May you respond to the call of your gift and find the courage to follow its path. May the flame of anger free you from falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame and anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. May you take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. May you be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. So now, in the presence of all that is, go out into the world and strengthen the weak, comfort the fearful, serve the suffering, do what makes you come alive. So may it be.